over many years, that commitment has grown.
Wow.
Excuse me.
Wow. That's fine. Bless you. Oh, so amazing to know that for about 40, 49 years you've been into mentoring programs. That's so powerful. But Dan, can you share with us what inspired you to be on these long 49 years around the youth mentoring programs?
Well, like I said, it's by doing over and over. Uh, 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 Initially, I was matched with a fourth grade boy, and we met every week on a Tuesday evening for about an hour. And at the end of the first year, the boy's mom came up to me and said, "Oh, he talks about you all the time. You got to do it again." And so
Wow.
I came
Wow.
back and we did it again.
Wow.
And at the end of that second year, when I began to lead the program, I still continued as a mentor to that boy. But now I began to mentor all the other kids in the program as well. And I'm still connected to that boy. He's now 55 years old. He had two sons. They're both out of college. So
Wow.
as I worked with one program and I worked with the kids in that program, and I began to read the literature about why these programs are needed and where they were needed. And it's that reinforcement of doing it, of seeing there's nothing more magical than seeing a youth and adult. Uh, Back in the original program, kids would come to our site and become reward. I would check them then at a registration table. The kids would sit next to me waiting for their volunteer to show up. And when that volunteer walked through the door, I could see the light go off in the
Wow.
kid's face. On the other hand, if the volunteer didn't show up, or if I had learned that the volunteer wasn't coming back, then there was a sadness. So
Wow.
it's seeing that over and over and over. And then with the older kid program, the first program we took kids to sixth grade, uh, uh, and we had a graduation, and it was a nice celebration. The second program, some of those kids we took to 12th grade, and seeing them graduate from high school, seeing them and their volunteers talk about how important each other was in their lives, seeing the parents talk about how important it was. All these things over many years reinforced to me the importance not just of mentoring, but of mentoring programs. If it wasn't
Wow.
for an organized program, I would not have gotten involved. I would
That's
not
right.
have stayed involved. I would not have stayed involved for so many years. So the and as we learn about the issues of kids in poverty, uh, a mentor is an important asset. A mentor is a tutor, not just a mentor. But there's many more things that are needed to help more kids get through school over many years.
Wow, wow. It is amazing to know how you were inspired right from time to take up mentoring. And of course, certain structures have helped you to build up your own self through raising other people over 40 years ago. And you were able to build many, many structures, helping many people. I've seen you with Obama. I've seen your picture with Obama, and I'm sure you guys have done a lot together with him. Now, can you tell me what does youth mentoring? What does it mean to you, Dan?
Well, it's as simple as a connection of an adult with another person. If we were talking about workplace mentoring, and some programs that work with kids that are say older than 16, uh, it's a in those types of programs, the mentee, the younger person, uh, takes on a responsibility for a lot of the connections with the adult. And they can do that because there's a maturity there that they may have. Working with young kids, the adult has to have a greater lead role, and the program has to support that adult and the kid and their involvement. Um, So, but really, it's the connection. It's a relationship built and sustained over time. If you go in, you mentioned Obama. If he goes in and talks to a group of kids, he has a high profile personality, but if he never comes back, or comes back only randomly, that's not a mentor. That's an important influence, but it's not a mentor. The mentor is someone who is there regularly, every week, month after month. Uh, I believe the impact grows over time, so year after year. Uh, that's not the case in a lot of situations.
Thank you, Dan. And talking about connection, and of course, you're able to elaborate for us what youth mentoring means to you. But I want you to explain to us what's the difference between youth mentoring and the tutor mentor connection, which is one of the things you're much passionate about. You impacted, I think, the entire city of Chicago. There's literally no community in Chicago that doesn't know about your work. So, how do you explain the difference between youth mentoring and tutor mentor connection?
Okay, I'm going to share some slides now to try to visualize that connection. So let's try this.
That's fine. So, once your slide is up, you go ahead. Okay,
Okay,
that's
so
fine.
uh, I use graphics and maps. If you look at my website, tutormentorexchange.net, or you look at my blog, tutormentor.blogspot.com, you'll see almost every article has one or several graphics in it. And I do that because not a lot of people think visually or spatially about when we talk about mentoring. Most people think of the act of an adult connecting to a young person. Very few people think of how do we help that happen? How do we help reach a lot more young people? How do we sustain that for many years? So, like I said before, we created the tutor mentor connection back in 1993. And if you look at this first slide, it shows a figure eight. I'll run my mouse back and forth. And in the middle is this blue box. Uh, uh, the blue box represents the role of intermediaries, which is what the tutor mentor connection is. Uh, that we connect people who can help, volunteers, donors, businesses, media, uh, with places and programs where they need help to do what they do to help kids. So if I go to the next slide here, then that blue box in the middle, you'll see a lot of graphics where I show